Welcome back. Well, Honourable Ogenego joins us next. He's a member, House Committee on Legislative Compliance. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, yes, we're just in the report of the House of Reps, how they intend to look into this matter, raising more concerns, just as Nigerians have. But, really, there are several questions. I know, yes, that has happened, but overall, what is the House looking to achieve here? Because, many will say, look, we've had this scenario before, we'll happen it again. So, what next?
Well, thank you for having me again. As you know, the House of Representatives is the House of the people. This is a House that's elected 360 members, was elected by, 360 members all over the country. And if you look at the article of our Constitution, the first major aspect of it talks about the welfare and security of the people. And this issue of importation of bad fuel or contaminated fuel, whatever they call it, touches on the welfare and the security of the people. You can imagine if somebody buys that fuel and is traveling on the way, and the vehicle brings that on the highway, and bandits come to kidnap the people, security of the people is affected. And then again, if the vehicle is destroyed because of the high sulfur content of the fuel, you find out that the welfare of the people is destroyed because it can't carry people to where it will go to. So this thing touches on the article of the Constitution. And as a house that belongs to all Nigerians, that Nigerians look at, we decided that we must take this issue very seriously. And as you can see from the resolution we took, we said those who are involved in the importation of this so-called bad fuel, which includes Duke Oil, Emeralds, Oando, and another consortium, they must be made accountable.
How did the House come to, is that the position of the House?
Well,
some of these
that's
names?
the information supplied by NNPC.
Yeah, but some of them have denied, saying no, NNPC imports fuel directly, not even through agencies.
Yeah, that's what MRS said, and that is why the House have mandated its committee on downstream to investigate who actually imported this fuel, who are the culprits, who did this to Nigerians. You can imagine how many vehicles must have broken down on the way. You can imagine how many people are suffering this.
Yeah,
it's wastage of Nigeria fund. So the House is going to investigate it, and we think that whoever is wrong, whoever did this to Nigerians, must have to be punished.
Honourable, we've seen several investigations by different House committees, well-intended, but that notwithstanding, the question still remains as to when the House, perhaps in the course of investigation, unravels the gravity of what has happened and the huge impact of some of these things, are they able to go the whole hog? How do people know that, well, they won't play politics with this after all, they're politicians?
No, certainly not. Certainly not. This is done in the glare of everybody. Television houses, the whole Nigerians are watching to see what the result will be. The House is going to be very thorough on this investigation. We'll get to the root cause of it. We'll find out who actually imported it. We're also going to look at the various organizations that are supposed to inspect it for. We understand there are about 11 agencies that are supposed to inspect the fuel and certify it correct before it gets into Nigeria. And don't forget that the cars used in Nigeria are the cars used abroad. People buy Tukubo cars from abroad and we use them in Nigeria. So for those in Antwerp, where it was bought from, to sell that kind of fuel to Nigeria, we're going to ask them questions. These same cars are the ones being used abroad. Are you selling this fuel abroad too, or
is
for the Nigerian market?
Is investigation going to be, when you say they had to be brought to book,
yes,
is that tilting towards, because the people themselves now who are bearing the brunt of this, because sometimes even we see when it has to do with telcos, monies don't go back to the consumers, the callers themselves. So is the House going to tilt this largely to the consumers who themselves have suffered a lot of harm for those who have?
Of course. When the committee sees, there will be a public hearing. All those whose vehicles have been damaged because of this bad fuel, all those who have suffered losses, of course they will come forward. And I'm sure that there will be Nigerian lawyers who will go for a class claim in the law court for whatever damages they have done. They're absolutely right if they decide to go that way too. But we will take reports, we will allow all those who have suffered losses to come up. There will be a publication in newspaper. If as a result of this bad fuel, you suffered any loss, please contact so. So those who have suffered losses, they will be known. And we think there will be consequences this time, because for a whole nation like Nigeria to be taken for a ride, you bring bad fuel and the fuel is discharged into the country. I mean, I can't understand it. Was it fuel manufactured for only Nigeria? We must ask. Is it what they are doing here? Can they do it in America? Can they do it in Germany and in Antwerp and any other country? I mean, we got to a situation where we stand to the right of Nigerians. And this is one of the situations which I used to show example to tell Nigeria that the House of Rep, the National Assembly, is actually working for them because they elected us.
And I think this will be a big test for the House. In fact, the National Assembly at large, as Chamberlain mentioned, if you're able to go the whole hog regarding whatever the investigation comes up with. But I'm curious, because you mentioned 4 companies, and you said they should be penalized while an investigation is ongoing. So how did you come to the conclusion that they're indeed responsible for this if an investigation has just commenced?
Yeah, you found out that was during the debate. And during the debate, information came up that NNPC said these 4 companies are responsible. And of course, we hold them responsible while the investigation is going on. They will not be given enough chance to come and defend themselves. Like MRS have already said that it's not they, that it's only Duke Oil on behalf of NNPC that did the deportation. So everybody, there will be due process, everybody will be given a chance to come and prove himself guilty or right. And nobody will be punished unduly. All the agencies who inspected this fuel, who failed to discover that this fuel is dangerous for the use of Nigeria, we will find out. And if such agencies that have been working for NNPC, it shows they are failing in their duty. They are not fit to be regulatory agencies to check whether fuel consumption is good for the country. It shows they are not capable technically. So a lot of things are going to happen. And it's going to be a very thorough investigation.
So are you still staying on the stance that they should be suspended pending this investigation?
Well, there have been suggestions on the floor of the House that they should be suspended. And I'm sure that as we move forward, this will unravel. And I don't think that it's bad if we find out that they are actually capable for this huge deceptive done to the country. If we find out, of course, we'll recommend their suspension.
Have you noticed, Honorable, that there seems to be, buck passing? It's not me, it is you. It wasn't me, it is you. And it seems to be like the more you see, the less you know with this thing. Do you sense a cover-up, a grand cover-up in this?
Yeah, we've seen a bit of that. For NNPC to say these are the 4 companies. And for one of the companies to say, no, it is NNPC. There's buck passing there. So that's why it is also important that there's investigation. And good enough, this investigation shall be public. It will be publicly done in the House, and anybody who has information will give it to the House. Anybody who wants to attend, we are going to use a very big hall in National Assembly, so views of people can be heard, and television houses will be there, at least to teach people that this should not be done again to Nigeria.
Isn't it curious? I mean, tailing from what Khaled just said, which has been on my mind all the while. Isn't it curious to you that hitherto all we've heard was that NNPC is the sole importer of fuel into the country until now, and NNPC is coming out to say these organizations, this consortium is responsible for bringing oil into the country. At the same time, of course, we've heard the comments of the Minister of State for Petroleum as well. To you, as a member of the House of Representatives and perhaps to some other members like yourself, isn't it curious?
It is curious. And that's why the House decided to set up a committee to investigate the issue. And don't forget, this investigation is going to be all encompassing. All those involved will be invited publicly so that let Nigeria know who is lying. Is it NNPC? Is it MRS? Or is it some other organizations? Those who have proved that this fuel is good for consumption here, let us know. We'll make sure that the managing directors of all these organizations will come. They are not just going to send staff or lawyers to represent them.
Let me reiterate Chamberlain's question earlier. There have been several occasions where we hear of these hearings, of these investigations, and nothing happens. What's the plan? Should the NNPC, for instance, be indicted in this matter? What's the plan? What are the likely consequences?
Good. If an NPC is indicted, of course there will be consequences.
The
House will make a recommendation. We cannot say what the House will recommend, but recommendation will be made by the committee investigating, and this will come to the floor of the House. And once the House passes it in the resolution that the report of the committee is approved, of course, then we will demand that the executive arm of government must take action according to the recommendations of the House.
You know, this
will be done.
All of what's going on, it just gives us, perhaps you give the House too, and you know, maybe like a sneak peek of what the committee is going to be up against investigating this matter. Because you'd have thought that if you import a car or import anything, your bill of lading, all those documents are clearly stated there. But here you see companies denying and passing buck for something you think, if your name is there, your name is there. So it gives you, you're going to be up against so many things, and who knows? Is there a timeline for this? Because if you find out that they're dribbling you or documents are not forthcoming, people say, oh no, I'm ill, I can't appear. Is there a timeline within which this has to be done?
Of course, with everything committee with National Assembly, an investigation like this, there's always a time limit given. And I'm sure the Speaker will make sure that this is done expeditiously. Those who are going to be members of the committee may even be excused from the general sitting in the House. While the general sitting is going on, they are also going ahead with their work. So there's going to be a timeline. The timeline I cannot see, but we know that Nigerians are anxious to know the result of this investigation. And as a result, we will ensure that this is done expeditiously as much as possible. It will not be business as usual.
Not that one sees or we see the end from the beginning. We're not caught in this matter. Because they are, and that's bad because, look, chances are that people who have done this are quote unquote powerful people.
Yeah.
And so if you find out that fingers are pointing to those kinds of people, many will wonder if the House can actually go this way, because you know that some of these persons may have been behind supporting several committees in the House, the bill, several things. So can the House go this whole hog? That's the question.
The Parliament is the House of the people. 360 members elected throughout the country. It's responsible to Nigerians. It cannot be to one billionaire or one multi-billionaire who probably, of course, people donate usually to candidates when they want to do election. But you should know that we have sworn an oath to the Constitution to protect the people of Nigeria. Like I said,
this is election time.
Yes.
Those members will look and say, wait a minute, I need to weigh the options here. If this billionaire donated to me, can I buy the finger that fed me?
Well, I can assure you that that will not happen in this case. Because members, you said this type of election, members want to be able to win election. If you are a member of this committee and you are seen to have changed Nigeria, of course, your people wouldn't vote for you. It's not just money that wins election. It is your good work, you know, and people are anxious. I can assure you that we shall get to the root cause of this issue.
Even though money plays a huge role in winning elections anyway, Honorable. But would you agree with the leadership of the PDP at large that is calling for an independent inquiry into this one, saying, you know what, don't let it be the National Assembly or the House, because we know the majority anyway. And this is on the back of a claim by the PDP that the APC is trying to shield APC leaders involved in this importation scandal. So would you agree with the leadership?
Well, the PDP, like any other organization or Nigerians who are patriotic, of course, are also worried. You know, they are hearing the complaints of public and they are mirroring it out. But if the PDP wants an independent body to investigate it, there's no problem with that. But National Assembly has a role in this. We've sworn to defend the constitution of the country, and whether there's any other investigation can go on, we will not stop them. There could be multiple investigations, but we will not stop them. But we'll carry our own out to the satisfaction of Nigerians. We want to ensure that this does not happen again. We want to ensure that there are consequences, so that companies do not just because of money, you go there to bring rubbish to Nigeria, and at the end of the day, where are we? Organizations like SON and some other organizations, former DPR and co, customs and co, who do various investigations, which are unearthed. they will speak to Nigerians publicly, and we shall know who gave approval for this fuel to enter the country. Even when it came in at the wharf, those who tested, who gave approval that this fuel should be released.
But isn't this, I'm sorry, but, and I think I need to reiterate, because there are some things that are shocking here.
Yeah.
I mean, we know how processes are. This shouldn't take a whole investigation, really. It's just a simple document or a simple call to be made. In fact, reading the presidency's statement saying that even the presidency wants those involved, and it wasn't quite clear, and I'm wondering, so the presidency or the president does not even know clearly, why is it shrouded in secrecy? It's a simple thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that is the issue. By the time National Assembly advises people and they speak publicly, then the secrecy that is shrouded in is gone. Even don't forget that about 4 companies are involved, and there are deniers here and there. There's bug passing. So we need to get to the root cause, to the bottom of this issue. And it is only when there's a public hearing that does not shield anybody. It's done publicly. The press is here. Any member of the public who is interested, of course, you are free to come to the National Assembly to be part of it and to ask questions. And I can see a lot of organizations, human rights organizations, various ones are going to indicate interest. There'll be a publication asking that if you are interested, submit your paper to this. So at the end of the day, we'll get to the bottom of the face value where 4 companies have been mentioned. But like we say, a man is not guilty until found guilty. So we still need to give them fair hearing. Unless they say, oh, we did it, we are guilty. Then they are fair process to make it shorter. Otherwise, there must be fair hearing. And that's what National Assembly wants to do.
You know, Honorable, forgive me, but I'm sure you would sympathize with the pessimism of Nigerians, or doubts that is this, as Chamberlain has asked repeatedly, is the National Assembly going to go the whole hog in this matter? Now, we know, everyone knows that the petroleum industry is a huge, should I use the word cartel? I don't know if that's the right word. Quite a number of powerful influences can come to play. So if some of these people are indicted, and as Chamberlain has indicated, money bags, billionaires and all of that, and say, back off, what would be the staying power of the House of Representatives, for instance, to say, we're not going to back off? What are the risks? What are the likely inhibitions that you see as a member of the House of Representatives who must have seen some of these influences come to play once or twice in a while? What are some of the challenges that you see?
Well, of course, there will be challenges. In a country like Nigeria, that even Transparency International says in the corruption index that we are performing very badly. Of course, there will be some corrupt people here and there. But if the National Assembly, sitting in this plenary, with the Speaker, Honorable Benjamin Amila, seated here, taking complaints from our various constituencies. Motion is moved, various contributions will be made to the debate, and we now agree that there should be investigation. I will be very surprised if some people are able to influence that. The interest of the National Assembly, interest of Nigeria, and our reputation is at stake. I'm sure that by the time the report comes out, you will be satisfied that the National Assembly has done a good job.
But isn't it the same house? I mean, National Assembly, for instance, in fact, motions were moved. Speaker, Senate, President of the Senate, they all deliberated, they looked at the Electoral Act, they came to a resolution, and look at where we are today. That's why people say, can any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Well, I'm a member of the electoral committee, and we've done our job. We've passed it to the presidency. Nigeria knows that there's separation of power. There are three arms of government. You have the executive arm by the president, you have the legislature where we are, and you have the judiciary. We'll move it to the president. And I will be surprised if the presidency does not sign it. They will have to explain to Nigeria why they didn't sign this. Yeah, but we should not use that to create pessimism over the work of National Assembly.
No, not that they're creating...
We work very quickly on that act, and we have submitted it to the satisfaction of Nigerians, and we think to the satisfaction of Mr. President, because issues he raised we have covered them.
We understand
so
that. Not that anyone is creating pessimism, but you're just looking at what people can do, what the assembly can do by what they've done before. Because we know that when Nigerians said we wanted that clause of electronic voting to be included, the National Assembly said no, that this is not what they wanted before you went on recess and came back and changed it. So they've seen these things happen before. So that's what they're asking.
But you can see that the National Assembly is listening to the yearnings of Nigeria. Like you said, that act, that section was not here. We came back and we then say, okay, INEC, you say you can do electronic voting. Okay, we'll give you all the power, you know, to use electronic voting and whatever system you want to use that will make the election more transparent. So we listen to the yearning of Nigeria. And like we say, the body is in the court of Mr. President. We cannot legislate and be the one to give the DC. All we can do is to wait for the presidency. If the period passes, then of course we'll be sit back and say, wait a moment, this is what Nigeria has won. Let's go ahead and override.
Like they told us before that they will do.
Well, let us see how it goes forward. I'm not sure that I cannot just sit here and say this will what will happen. But what I can say is that National Assembly is a responsible organization and they know that Nigerians are looking forward to them and they know they are put there for the interest of Nigeria and they sworn to an oath, sworn to uphold the constitution of the country.
So we can take it to the bank that the expression, we can take it to the bank that the National Assembly this time would see this one through. So if the president, and you say we shouldn't be pessimistic, so let's hope it happens, but if it doesn't happen, the National Assembly will take it back and say, you know what, we're still going to override this veto.
I believe we see it through. I believe we see it through. But don't forget that we need to tell majority to override the president's veto. So it will not be very easy for me to sit down here and say, hey, we will do it. Like I said in one of my interviews, when you are doing a veto in a big country like this of over 200 million people, and with 360 member cities, so many things come to play. Some of them are the interests of Nigerians. But things like tribalism comes in. Things like religious sentiment coming. Geopolitical also coming. And party interests also coming. But I'm sure that barring all this, National Assembly will do what Nigerians want.
And I think this speaks to how much the National Assembly would want to test that cordial relationship it has said it wants to have with the executive, the president in particular. And it would seem that over time the National Assembly has tried to stay safe when it comes to issues with the president. This field matter now. The president, as we know, is a minister of petroleum. We have a minister of state. Would the National Assembly also be going ahead to question the president being the minister of petroleum? Because I imagine that you'll have to speak to someone in the executive. Would you go ahead to do that?
Of course, we'll go ahead. You know, it may not be the president coming to answer it, but there will be people under the presidency who are in charge of this. Of course, we will invite them. And the presidency will be accountable. And I'm happy that on this issue, we seem to be on the same page with the presidency. Presidents have issued a very tough statement that those who are responsible, who are culpable, are found wanting, will be brought to book. And that's where we stand too. So I think that there's like a consensus at them here between us as a presidency. And moving forward, I'm sure that both parties, both the presidency and the National Assembly, will act in the interest of Nigeria.
Since the presidency is interested, even the president is interested in ensuring that people who are culpable are held accountable, don't you think that the president, not the presidency, will be willing to speak up on this matter if called upon?
Yes, I've said that, but don't forget that the presidency is an institution. You have Mr. President.
But the president is a minister.
He's a minister. But he's the minister.
They're two different things.
Yeah. For instance, if we call the presidency to come back, president to come back, and on that day the president have gone out of the country for some other functions of state on behalf of the country, you know, and we have a short time to go. Of course, we can call the minister for state.
But what about if he hasn't?
From the presidency.
What if he hasn't gone out of the country?
If the minister of state is out of the country.
No, if the president is not out of the country.
Well, if he's not out of the country, of course. I'm sure when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But what I can assure you is that all those who are involved in this, be they in the presidency or in the NNPC or any other department, the National Assembly will ensure that they come to account for their deeds.
doesn't this raise or give reasons why perhaps the National Assembly should have a second look at a president being the minister? Because in this kind of scenario, if the minister himself was to be in charge, do you think some things might have been done differently as opposed to having a minister of state who is answerable to a president who may be busy with other matters? Yeah. So that may have affected things.
You know, we're also working on the amendment of the Constitution right now. There have been so many proposals, and I'm sure...
Is this part of it?
I cannot say exactly, but I know that there are things touching on the efficiency and running of government. And I'm sure I would not be surprised if this is one of it. There are a lot of proposals that are out there.
No, but being a member of the committee, have you ever heard anything close to this suggestions?
No, not directly like that. But there have been proposals to see how governance is streamlined to ensure that there's more efficiency so that one person does not carry too much portfolio. Because for a president to now be minister for petroleum, that is too much work on the president. The president is supposed to oversee all the ministries. For him to sit on one of a committee because it's lucrative, I don't think it's right. And we're waiting. Let us see what happens.
It's interesting, that you say,
amendment.
He is the minister, and because he's minister because it's lucrative. But still in the same petroleum industry, Chamberlain said earlier, you know what a man would do, or an institution will do by what it's done before. Was it about 3 weeks ago that the House of Representatives called for some action to end illegal refining in some parts of Rivers State? And I dare say that that's not the only place in pockets of areas in the Niger Delta this has happened. The talks around gas flaring has been endless as well. And all we have heard the House of Representatives say is speak. And you have committees of the House of Representatives are supposed to deal with these things to ensure we see them to a logical conclusion. So if these ones are on ground and they are still talk, what's the assurance that this is going to go anywhere?
No, for instance, gas flaring, we've brought out acts, I can't remember exactly, that are talking about penalty for companies that are doing gas flaring. And that's why you see a lot of companies are struggling to get out of it because it's so more lucrative. The penalties we put are very tough. So some of these things cannot be achieved overnight, but we're certainly doing it. You see, what I want to appeal here is that let Nigerians know that the House of Rep, the Senate, are people elected by Nigerians. And they mirror the interests of the people. For instance, I gauge the thinking of my people in the board of federal constituency in Lagos who elected me to the House. You know, I'm in Lagos, I'm in consultation. Whatever the people are saying, of course, when I go back to the House, it influences by debate of floor of the House. So I guess that is how it should be everywhere. So, and our desire is to be able to satisfy those who elected us. And those are Nigerians.
You talked about the gas flaring. How about the illegal refineries?
Well, the illegal refineries, of course, you can see the governor of Rivers State have started doing those some things on it. You know, the illegal refinery is done in massive areas. Some are swampy areas. So what we are saying is that the law enforcement agencies should go and do their work. They should close them down.
And if they don't?
If they don't, of course, we may have to take a second look at it. Because those who are responsible for these actions, those who are responsible to ensure there's gas flaring is stopped, they are not able to stop it, then we say they are inefficient. And if they are inefficient, of course, what should happen?
What's the consequence of a second look?
Well, the consequence of a second look can be far-reaching. It's difficult for me to say it here, but it will be far-reaching. And I'm sure that those who are responsible are hearing. It could be far-reaching. Because if you go to Port Harcourt, you find out that sometimes the weather is very dark. Sometimes you see droppings, you hang your cloth outside, they are dropping on it. You know that when people are inhaling these droplets coming from the illegal refinery and the flesh, so it's not good for the health of even the oil producing areas. It's not good for the health of those who are in the area. A few people are making it and using it to steal money, you know, to their own satisfaction. But they are creating health hazard for the common man. You know, both the poor people, the rich, everybody is suffering it. Even those who are doing the illegal refinery are suffering it.
Well, Honorable, we're winding down in about a minute or less, and I just want to, looking forward now, the coming days will be interesting. The executive has ordered an investigation. The Minister of State said there's an investigation into this. You are also investigating this. And I imagine that even within pockets there are investigations. How actionable would your investigation be? How would you influence or exert pressure for the outcome of your investigations to be to be put into practice when the executive also has its own investigations as well?
That the executive is investigating and we are investigating, it shows how important this issue is. And if the executive knows that we are also investigating, of course, it will be difficult for them to cover it up.
In other words,
so our investigation is collaborating the one of the presidency. You know, we will do our own. Nigerians will see our report. If there's any area that the executive arm of government could not find out why they are doing the investigation, of course, when we bring it out, we will bring it out. And if there's any area that will be because of information available for us and they have it, they'll bring it out. So at the end of the day, the two reports will be used to handle this issue.
So
government.
A matter as important as this has to be televised. Of
course, it will be televised publicly. Everybody will see it. There will be a publication in newspaper very soon stating the day public hearing will be.
Is this your position or that of the House? It will be televised?
Yes. That is how we usually do it.
Live television?
Of course. When there's public hearing, people will submit various memoranda, and then in the glare of the public, those involved.
I mean, people watching as it's happening.
Of course, it will. It will be publicly done.
Okay, because I'm just trying to remember when last the House did something that favored the masses. So.
I'm surprised.
People can try to remember.
The House has done a lot of things that favored the masses.
A lot.
This is one example. I'm surprised.
Which one?
I said this issue we are investigating is one of the examples.
You're only talking about it. You haven't started anything.
And we've not seen the outcome.
So, this is the way the House works. You talk about it, then it favors Nigerians.
No, we are talking about it, and because we know that it's an issue that concerns the lives and interests of Nigeria. Of course, that is why we've decided to set up. We'll ask the committee on downstream to investigate it. I can assure you that you will be quite happy with the outcome of the investigation, and it will deter others. Because people now know that the National Assembly is interested in this issue, it will deter others, and it will ensure that, there's a price to be paid for this type of thing.
Honorable Oganego is a member, House Committee on Legislative Compliance. He says the House is not huffing and puffing, and that they will go the whole hog this time. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you.
We're back in a moment. Don't go away.
Well, the coordinator of the program of at-risk children is now here with us in the studio. Madam Miriam Uwais, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So what gave rise to this idea of doing something for at-risk children?
Well, it's very evident across the nation that we have so many children on the streets. We have so many challenges with youth that are, quite angry with the system because government has never touched them. They have no skills. Many of them have no hope. And they're very, quick to destroy. They don't have a stake in, and it is their entitlement as Nigerian citizens to get support from government. But there had to be a lot of brainstorming as to how to get to them, especially because children and youth belong to the states as far as the Constitution is concerned. And we saw a lot of, during COVID, children being moved from one state to the other, and the presumption was they just go back to school. But many of them had never been into the four walls of a classroom. So even going back to school, even if you compel them to sit in the classroom, they wouldn't connect. So the idea was, let's get them into some pre-induction, workshop or session so that they get to recognize and become familiar with the alphabets. And so that's how it started, And then, of course, there's a huge number of different vulnerabilities. We have girls that hawk on the streets. We have rising cases of sexual and gender-based violence. especially with our young ones, who don't have a voice. People don't know where to go when they have problems. We have cultural issues, stigmatization. There are just so many problems, and there just had to be some kind of cross-cutting, platform, some way of addressing these issues in a holistic manner, rather than just strictly education or strictly health, because you don't really address the challenges when you build a school. For instance, if you say it's about infrastructure, if you build a school in a poor community, if you don't address the poverty in that community, the children will go with the father to the farm, the girls will go to hawk, and the classrooms will remain empty if the teacher is not healthy or the mother is not healthy. So we just need to begin to think broadly, multidimensionally, rather than in silos. And even the fact that we have so many programs out there, and there has to be some kind of coordination so that we have a concerted effort and impact.
So is this then an amalgamation of coordinated programs targeted at these children, or this is a program by itself?
No, this is trying to engage the states directly and leveraging on programs that already exist, working with the facilities in the state government, working with the stakeholders, working with the development partners that are already doing things, trying to bring them all together, but essentially it's asking the states to bring these children into interim community hubs where they can be reached and where all of these learnings and all these opportunities can be shared with them, for a period, and then it's a phase, they move into the next phase.
So precisely what should we be looking to see? I mean, for those who've been wondering if the at-risk children program is working in their state, what should they be looking out for?
Well, the first thing is the state has to sign up, because there are certain responsibilities that the state has to take up. The federal government cannot usurp the powers of the state as far as the Constitution is concerned. And primary health care, primary education, children, even the vulnerable groups, the women, adolescent girls, they're all squarely within the purview of the state. So the state needs to accept that this is what I am going to do. And what we are doing at federal level is essentially scouting around the MDAs at federal level, seeing what is available, and then channeling those opportunities to the state and ensuring that the state focuses on these children. So if you bring them into hubs, then we will get the technical know-how from the development partners, we're working with NDLEA because there's a rising, substance abuse. We're working with UBEC, we're working with ITF, we're working with, there's so many, this Office of the Sustainable Development Goals, there are so many different initiatives happening at federal level that we need to bring together and channel that kind of expertise. So in our office, we're not really saying that we have the expertise. We're looking for the expertise. We're searching. We're engaging. For instance, the Legal Aid Council is doing a lot of training on paralegal services at the community level for us. We've got the National Board for Technical Education, because we have a dearth of assessors and verifiers for vocations. So they are going to be building, capacity. We have those who are interested in digital skills. We have sports. The UNODC has a program that works very well on out-of-school children in other countries. So they've brought their international consultants to come and do a lot of training, trained our own coaches in the States to cascade the training, the methodology down. And it's essentially proved very successful in curbing substance abuse in young people, in crime and violence. So you're sitting in a room with your peers and everybody's smoking, and they give you a cigarette. And how do you navigate that if you don't really want to smoke, but you don't want to look like a wimp? So it's becoming self-aware of the attributes that you can develop, life skills. And we've engaged, the private sector We have a lot of enthusiasm from the private sector. We want to do mental health because a lot of these children have gone through trauma. We've got the Primary Healthcare Development Agency doing health screenings, you know, and trying to do workshops for the mothers of the children that hawk.
So let me get this straight. I mean, from all that you've said so far, it does sound to me like a lot has been happening before now.
Yes.
And this is just the formal launch.
Yes.
Yes. So how long has it been happening for?
Well, we started 2020 October is when we started.
2020 October.
October, engaging the states. I was asked to make a presentation after, of course, brainstorming within the office, make a presentation to NEC, the National Economic Council, where all the governors, you know, zoom in. And some of the governors contacted me and said, can we do this, you know? And so this is how it started. And we went on a scoping mission just to meet the various stakeholders, the traditional rulers, the communities. Then we engaged the states. Tell us what your vulnerabilities are, because it will be your responsibility to give us the data. So if you say we have too many girls on the streets hawking, you will give us the data, the geolocations. We want to know who their mothers are, because there's an economic issue here. If we say the girls are going to remain in learning hubs, then the mothers are going to resist it because they're not going to be getting money. So we now went to the development partners, can we do cash transfers for these women? And the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, can you do workshops for these women to learn, you know, how to do nutrition better? Can we do clean cooking? I'm engaging the Ministry of Environment, you know. So there's trying to pack as much learnings as we can, you know, but the entry point, because we do have a dearth of teachers that can do this, we know that we have, from our past experience with the Empower, we have huge numbers of young people who have some measure of education, who are residing in the local governments and have no jobs. How do we transform this category of citizens into an opportunity for us? So we're asking the states to give us 50 young people who have at least an OND, but many of them NCE degree holders, you know, give them to us, male and female, per local government. These are our entry point. These are the young people, because they live in the communities. They must live in the communities because they understand the language, they understand the culture, they probably know the children, or they see them around, or the families. These are the ones that we train first per local government. And we train them across the 7 pillars, which are health, education, you know, vocations, entrepreneurship, sports, security, life skills, and then also cross-cutting issues, M&E, monitoring and evaluation. We want them also to, and as I said, paralegal services.
So you haven't started that?
We've done that in Gombe.
You're about to start
We've done that in Gombe, and the security training is going on at the moment.
Okay, I know that you have like 6 states that, the pilot states, is it 5 or 6?
5 states.
Okay, there's Sokoto, I'm trying to find the names of the states now. There's Sokoto, I know there's Ekiti.
Borno and Kaduna.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Borno, Sokoto, Gombe, Kaduna, and Ekiti.
Yes.
At the pilot states.
Yes.
So how many children in these states have been taken into the program?
So we're first getting the data from the states, right? So Sokoto gave us 1.2 million out of school children, right? But we said give us the numbers in the local governments, geolocations, and then give us the data. Many of them are Al-Majuri.
1.2 million.
Yeah, that was what UNICEF gave us. In Sokoto, that was the demonstration they gave us. And so we say, okay, give us these 50 young people per local government. We will train them, and then every month we will pay them a stipend. They will engage, they will identify the children that we're assigning to them. We're assigning a minimum of 50 children to each of them.
To who?
To each of these youth that we're training.
Okay.
right? So it's like multiplier effect.
You're going to train how many youths now?
50 per local government.
Okay,
That's how we're starting.
Okay.
And then for each of these youth, we're assigning a minimum of 50 girls and boys, right? And they now, at the moment in Gombe, they've identified the children that they've been assigned. They've been to them for their parents or their guardians or the malams or the district head, if they're just on the street, to get parental consent or guardians' consent. And then they are now going to train them in the hubs. And every month they have to give us reports on the challenges or the progress. You know, so let me say, with basic literacy and numeracy, we're not replacing the classroom. We're just making them familiar. So there's a particular curricula that UBEC has that's intensive. So you train these young people. They take these children through this curricula for a period of 6 months, and then the children go back to school. Right? And if these children drop out of school, they need to give us reports every month on the progress of that child. And because they have some measure of education, they will ensure that is the responsibility, that these children remain in school. And for the older ones, they will form them in cooperatives after the training, the vocations. Beyond the data, we need the human element, we need the mentorship, we need the nurturing that should come from these youth. So we're trying to get them to have an oversight sense of responsibility, to have some compassion, you know, and to get them to understand how to approach a child that's traumatized. And this UNICEF is doing for us, you know, that training. And UBEC is giving us the trainers. They have master trainers in every state. So after this is done, we also have interest from organizations that are into mental health to see how they can work with these youth. We also have another safeguard measure that I should mention. We've engaged the security agencies. We've shared the names and the geolocations, the numbers of all the youth facilitators per state, because we want feedback on them too. We don't want to hand over children to people that will be bad influences, right? So we want to be able to ease them out if at all we find out that maybe somebody's on substance, for instance, and then it's about getting them help or support. This is why General Marwa has been really very supportive. He was at the launch yesterday. Each of these different MDAs have given us, you know, people to work with, and they guide us. We go with them when we go with the training, and they do the work. We just do the organization, more or less, you know.
Okay, so you were telling me that Sokoto gave you 1.2 million names.
Yes.
But in terms of, I mean, I can see that the organization has been thoroughly thought out, and it does appear a little, I don't want to say complex, but I mean, you're putting everything, safeguards in place to ensure that it does work. It could have a double effect. It could work, and perhaps the complexity might make it also too cumbersome. I don't know. These are some of the things that could come out of it. But I'm wondering, so far, how many children would you say that the program has been able to reach?
So it's the foundational. So Gombe has been the first, and we've done the training. We're just completing these. Well, next week is when
the training of the mentors, that is?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So we call them youth facilitators.
How many of them in all?
Now we have 500.
Okay.
500, and we have a batch that is just security awareness. The governor says we have emerging issues, you know, so we want people that will have an eye on early warning signals, peacekeeping, conflict resolution, and we have a number of retired military personnel who say we can do this, you know, the drills. We can do a lot of work here, and we shared the agenda of the training with all the security agencies so that they could approve. Now they're also going to be doing environmental things, you know, within the structure of what exists. They will report to the police and to the... we're not trying to create a different security arm. We're trying to ensure that they don't have arms, but they play a role to maintain security and can report to the relevant security agencies. So we've done that in Gombe, and they have identified the children that they've been given. The state also needs to set up community hubs.
How many children are you looking at in Gombe?
About 700,000.
700,000.
Yeah, but it depends on where the hubs are set up.
Okay.
Some have 400, some have 200,000. It all depends on where the children converge. The state capital has many more, but for instance, there's a community where we found, you go there early in the morning, there are little girls there up to the age of 18. All they do is hang around and hope to be taken to the farm for labor. They have no other skills except for to go to the farm and work. And if they get 200 naira, 300 naira, they're really excited. And the governor has said, okay, we'll set up a hub here, and we'll do the basic literacy and numeracy, we'll do the agriculture, and we're inviting a lot of private sector to help with this, and of course, Lafarge does a lot of, they have, they were able to, I think, they bought I've forgotten the name now, but they have a presence in Gombe, and they do a lot of agriculture. So they're working with the state to see how they can enhance the capacity of the older girls to be able to do their own thing, and then we'll look for off-takers for them so that they're able to do things for themselves, earn their own money, there'll be a value chain. All of that needs to come from those who are better educated, right, and who understand the value of education. Because if the parents really placed a lot of premium on Western education, many of those children would be in school, right? But because of all the contending demands on their meager income, they would rather use the children to supplement their... So what we're trying to do is get the parents in, and because the traditional rulers have welcomed this, I must say I have been really encouraged, even by the Malams, that look after the Almajiri, because we're not tampering with their system of education. We're just saying, let us help these children get skills for this life.
What's the target? How many children are you hoping to reach?
Well, it depends on how many the state gives us.
No, how many states sign up to the program?
Yes.
Okay.
And we've made the presentation. We're hoping the states will call us.
But it's 2022. Next year is already an election year. Many governors will be out of office.
This is a concern, yes. But the vice president has said to us, just do this because it is important. And he has engaged the states. He has asked us, to speak to NEC. We've spoken to the governors. Just give us the space. Go on with your elections, but let us try and see how we can address this. It's just that we have to rely on the states, otherwise we'd go much faster. But the states have to buy in, and the states have to give us the land, they have to give us the data, they have to give us the office, the staff have to come from the states. If we need psychologists, we've got NYSC helping us, but the states need to do this, and these are realities as a country.
It's not in the office, it's under the office of the vice president of this program.
Yes.
It's not with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Some people will say it could have the chance of becoming more institutionalized were it in that ministry, at least in terms of continuing as a program, maybe perhaps beyond 2023.
We report to the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy that was prepared by the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Dr. Doyin Salami. They did a lot of brainstorming and came to the conclusion that the best way to go about issues on the social space, in the social space, is for there to be a national thrust as against a federal thrust. because the convening power of who is going to do this has to be someone that, you know, can convene everyone, the ministers, because it's across several ministries, and also the governors, right? Because the work has to be bottoms up. And so the structure that's provided in the Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy that's been approved by FEC and inaugurated by the President is that there's a steering committee chaired by the Vice President. It has the 6 governors from each zone. It has 8 of the ministers. It has the SGF. You know, they are the steering committee. Then there's a technical working group that's chaired by the Minister for Budget and National Planning, Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, and then also co-chaired by the Governor of Nasarawa, that's nominated by the governors. Then the Secretariat is in the Ministry of Finance. You understand? So it's composed, the technical working group is composed of commissioners of planning in every state. So it's clearly focusing on the states getting together their act and trying to see how the states can be encouraged to take up the mantle in this, because that's the only way we can address poverty. It can't come from Abuja. It has to come from the communities up. So we report to the technical working group, and if you listened to the program yesterday, the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, and Prince Clem Agba, spoke about the role that they play in this, and of course the Governor Fayemi also spoke about the strategy, and the Vice President took ownership.
Well, we wish you every success. I mean, we do not want children on our streets. They shouldn't be there. That's not where children belong. And we sincerely hope that the program will be a success.
Thank you.
So we wish you Godspeed as you set along this path. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Miriam Owais is Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment and also the coordinator of the At-Risk Children Program. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Malcolm.
We'll take a break at this point, and we'll be back shortly to discuss one more thing. Sometimes it gets political. Do stay with us. Well, we're switching gears now to politics. We all know that 2022 is the year preceding the year of the general elections. And as we already know, aspirants, they're not yet candidates. Perhaps the only candidates we have now are those who are vying for positions tomorrow in the federal council elections here in the FCT. Yes, we're going to be having our own version of local government elections conducted by no other than INEC, and that's where we have candidates. The rest of the people whom we've been seeing so far are aspirants, either for party positions or even to be flag bearers of their party in the forthcoming general elections in 2023. But something which we've been trying to start as a tradition, which is that of debates. We're wondering, how is it catching on, and does it really have an impact in terms of who voters eventually go for? We have with us this morning Mr. Belema Menshak-Hart, who is Executive Director, Engage, Empower, Educate Initiative. And he's going to be speaking to us on that. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm wondering, you put together a debate for the FCT Council polls, and you had specifically women participate in the debate. What was the reason for that?
Okay, the debate was actually for all the candidates contesting under AMAC, but the change in our kind of debate is that we're actually doing only on gender-based issues. Okay. So the aspirants that came were questioned around gender-based issues. We have 21 issues we spoke to them about and asked them what will they do when they get into office around these 21 issues, and it was really nice.
Okay, so what did it open your eyes to?
It opened my eyes to a lot. And what we did during the debate was also to ensure it was streamed live over radio. So we had people ask questions, and we noticed that at the debate, a lot of people got informed ideas on what these aspirants will do when they get into office. Some aspirants made some very lavish commitments, what they would do for the girl child, and some even made some very interesting commitments. One even said they will get cooler for women when they get into office, and people ask, cooler for what? You getting me? And no, and that's serious. No, if an aspirant will be making such commitments, then you begin to know what they think about women and what they think about the girl child when they get into office. So it really opened our eyes to a lot, and the debate was very interesting, very, very engaging. The audience and the live audience asked a lot of questions. You know, there are a lot of issues that surround the woman and the girl child that are really not looked into, because nobody is asking these questions, and the aspirants are not even campaigning around these issues. And what we also found out was, because we told them the 21 issues we wanted to discuss about, they went to prepare around it. So even if they didn't have an idea prior to this time, they now understand that these issues are there, and what do we do about it when we get into office. And we're taking records, because there's going to be an accountability process. Whoever wins the elections will come back with his promises or her promises and say, see, this is what you said, what are you going to do now about it now that you are in office?
What was the motivation for that? I mean, the debate is something that is yet to really catch on. We see it a few times for state government elections, so for governorship debates, and perhaps a presidential debate, but it doesn't happen every time. Even at the presidential level, you see a situation whereby even the lead candidates, in quote, you know, do not show up for the debate. It would seem that it's a culture that is really yet to catch on. So what motivated you to do it at that level?
Okay, two things. First of all, we have a project called the Pink Movement, the Pink Vote Movement. We want to get at least 10 million more women to vote in upcoming elections. And under it is the Pink Debate, where we want to mainstream gender-based issues in the political process. Because we found out that women make a large percentage of the electorate, actually 47% according to INEC figures. And they are used before elections and dumped after elections. And we said, no, this should stop. We need accountability in the process. So the first reason was we wanted to have people accountable to their words. So we need to bring them on a round table to make commitments that would use to hold them accountable. And second, we noticed that there's so much apathy in the system. And I'll give you a simple example, because we are using AMAC council elections as our pilot case. AMAC has over 600,000 registered voters. Guess what? In 2019, I think so, those that came out to vote were less than 100,000. So there's so much apathy, and we're saying, okay, maybe people don't really know who these candidates are. People don't know. I'm sure many people will find out for the first time today that elections are holding tomorrow in Abuja. You see, there's just no information out there. People don't know. And when information is out there, they don't even know who the candidates are. So we said, no, this has to change.
That's a problem with almost every local government election.
Yeah.
And it's a little baffling, because the reason why that exists at the local government elections in many states, the general apathy, some people put it down to the fact that, in many local government elections in the states, it is usually the party in power at the governorship level that would take up all the seats. There is hardly any competition per se. And people have said, perhaps the only credible elections that, happen is the one that INEC itself conducts. And that happens right here in the FCT. That is the case of the FCT. So do you think that we should be investigating what could be responsible for the case of apathy in the FCT?
I see, and that's why AMAC is our pilot case, because we are monitoring the process till after the elections and want to monitor the outcome. Because we're saying, okay, if you have 600,000 voters, INEC is the one conducting these elections. Only 97,000 or so came out to vote the last time. Can we create awareness around these coming elections? Can we let people know who the candidates are? Because INEC has this published, but many people don't know. People don't know that they have 14 candidates in AMAC elections. Are you getting me? So INEC has published this thing. So we are taking this information to the people at the grassroots, the marketplaces. These are the candidates. Okay, you don't know your polling units. These are the polling units. Can you come out and vote? Can we get 300,000 people to vote in an election? Can we get 400,000 people to vote in this election? Because you have registered voters that are up to 600,000. So if they come out and vote, you will see that what the politicians depend on, that people won't come out to vote and get some people in the rural areas to do their bidding, won't even hold sway again. Because when more people come out to vote, you have more options, and you have a better election and a more credible election.
Well, I'm going to be one of those who will sign up as guilty as charged in terms of, whether or not you show up to vote on election day. But looking at what happens, looking at the FCT and how it is arranged, you have rightly spoken to the fact that a lot happens in the rural communities, and if impact to be felt anywhere, directly anywhere, it is the rural communities that would really need that impact the more. People hardly believe that a place as unifying and as developed and as sophisticated as the Federal Capital Territory will have rural communities that still do not have potable water, and do not have electricity. These are things that, that's the situation right here in the Federal Capital Territory. But in many other places, the sophistication is evident. If you go to Maitama, you go to even the estates, the many estates of Local Goma and, what have you. How do you hope to reach those kinds of communities that are already elitist in terms of how they are arranged? They really do not need, if you look at in terms of man's hierarchy of needs, it would seem that a lot of it has already been fulfilled for them, and they may not exactly see the need to engage politically to get things done. How do you get those kind of groups engaged and involved?
That's a very serious question, because we notice that these people really don't come out. Like you said, they're already well-to-do. They live in highbrow areas. But we are pushing the campaign. We are going out on streets. We are meeting them where they are in their offices. We are going to marketplaces, and we're also using social media to meet them where they are. And we are telling them, yes, governance is about you.
Did the debate happen in the marketplace?
No, we didn't happen in the marketplace because we had to hold it in a structured and a very secured environment, because the candidates asked for security, because we're bringing political aspirants together. But what we did was we broadcasted it on a station that has a very wide reach, right? A radio station has a very wide reach. So it reached over 1 million people, and they were also able to call in to ask questions.
You were certain of that?
Yeah, because that's the reach of the radio station. That's the reach of the radio station. I don't want to mention names, but it has a massive reach. And we had also live audiences. And guess what? Before the debate, we actually went to the marketplaces around our pilot scheme, AMAC, and we told them to listen in on the program. So they were waiting for the program to come on air. So they were ready. We went all the market. We have volunteers that went round AMAC and its environs to get people to listen into the debate. So they listened in, and it was evidenced by the questions that came in for the aspirants during the debate. But we are not stopping.
Was it done in the language of the people? Because some people say English might be too, might be speaking above their heads, not to take anything away from the education of those who are in the marketplace. But sometimes we know that on the streets, this is not the language. It's not. We don't speak Queen's English on the streets. We speak Pidgin English.
If I shock you now, it was a station that speaks vernacular.
Oh, okay.
That we used, because we know that people in the rural areas don't really speak our big English. So we had to use a station that reaches them in the language they understand. So that was the station we used, the radio station we used to broadcast the live broadcast. So it reached them in the language they really do understand.
What lessons do you think we can learn in terms of replicating this across board, and bringing to bear trying to entrench the culture of debate, however local the level is, that it is important for ideas to contend, and that people begin to understand that the people who are aspiring or who are candidates in an elections are there to serve you, and we must begin to learn to hold them accountable. What lessons do you think we can learn from this?
The most important thing is accountability. You understand? Now we can hold these aspirants accountable to what they have said they will do. That's the key point. Prior to this time, there was nothing holding anybody accountable. So what we're doing, once the pilot case is over, we'll be launching our reports, and then we'll escalate to state level, national level, and obviously the presidential level. So we'll have pink debates, the presidential debates, we'll have the governorship debate, and those that want to aspire to the national assembly, there'll be a debate for them. Then, very importantly, whoever wins, there'll be a tracking process. So we have our partners in Connected Development, thanks to AMSI and the fantastic what they are doing with Follow the Money, that understand how to track. So we are partnering with them to track this campaign promises. Whoever wins, so we are going to be tracked. So there's going to be a tracker. So it's not just I'm coming to office, I've won. Okay, you said you would do this. Have you done it?
It's interesting. Your agenda is specifically for women. It's about the gender.
Gender.
Or maybe not just with women, because even though it's pink, but gender is about both genders. Oftentimes it helps more to the more vulnerable gender. But let me flip this to Lagos. I understand that my colleague have questions for you.
Well, yeah, Belema, I mean, this is the pilot case, as you mentioned, and you spoke about the apathy that you witnessed, the way the whole thing came through. But in consideration of the fact that you did it for women, can you speak, or should we assume that apathy will be the same thing if you had done it for both candidates in terms of the men and the women who were contesting?
Okay, let me just correct that impression. The pink debate was for all candidates contesting the election, not just specifically female candidates, because for the AMAC election, there's only one woman contesting. So our pink debate is for everyone contesting the election. We want to know what you would do for women when you get into office, right? So at every level, it will be for all candidates. We are not restricting it to just the female candidates, all candidates. What will you do for women when you get into office? So we are mainstreaming gender-based issues during the political process. So basically, it was for all candidates and not just for female aspirants.
Oh, so the apathy you witnessed was on gender-based issues and how they needed to address and mainstream gender-based issues. Was that right?
Yes, you're right. And also coming out to vote during elections generally.
The question that will come to me naturally on that last bit that you mentioned, Mr. Meshach Hart, is concerning voter apathy, which you spoke a little more about the other time. How, in your opinion, does this change that narrative?
Okay, because you see, I think sincerely that voter apathy is because, one, many people don't know who they are voting for. They don't know what the person would do for them. So we believe that if we are able to give more information on the candidates, if we're able to give more information on what they would do for you when they get into office, and you'll be able to make informed decision and come out to vote. And secondly, we also are appealing to people. So we notice people just don't want to come out and vote for whatever reason. So we are appealing to people to come out en masse, and you will know who is coming out for that position. It gives you better idea on what they want to do, policies they want to implement, and you make better decisions coming out when people are coming to vote. Yeah.
From your interaction with the people, was this apathy occasioned by the fact that it was perhaps just AMAC elections? So if it were maybe bigger elections, either state or at the national level, from what you garnered, would they have been any different?
Yeah, because if we see from statistics of registered voters and those that came out to vote, most times it's quite poor, and it's not even up to 80–70% of the registered voters. So we believe this is across board. But we are saying that at this point in time, can we change that narrative? Can we get people more informed? Can we let them know? Because I believe sincerely that if people know, if they have an idea, and that's why debates are quite critical, because it helps them make informed choices. If people know who they are voting for, they will come out to vote. And if you appeal to them, right, if the candidates also appeal to them in the right way, they will also come out and vote. So we are saying, come out, vote, but not just vote. Know who you are voting for, what they want to do for women, what they want to do for girl child, what they want to do for you, and what they want to do for the society.
So, seeing how critical debate is, as you have said, to knowing the candidates, taking them to task on major issues, in this case for you, issues around women, and eventually boosting voter participation and turnout. But it's critical, right? But it's not illegal to not be a part of a debate, as it were. There's nothing in law that says there must be a debate. So are you looking to have this, institutionalized, have a law backing this, such that every candidate that is, pushed out there or to carry the flag of a party knows that one of the prerequisites is a debate?
I think even in countries that have that law, you see, it's still not compulsory to participate in debates. So we have to get to a point where as citizens we make a demand on those seeking political office that they should come out for debates. When they know that the citizens are making a demand, that citizens' demand, they will come out and participate. Because even in the debate we did for AMAC elections, not all aspirants turned up for the debate. And you can't charge them for that because they have their own rights of association. So it's just when they know, if a candidate knows that if I don't show up for these debates, I'll get a backlash. Trust me, no law would force them to come. They would come on their own and they'll be willing. And that's why going up in the coming elections, Nigerians should make it part of what they would demand of those coming out for political office, that they should participate in debates and let them know that if they don't come for those debates, it will also determine the direction they would go. We have a lot of intelligent people that are willing to come out for debate, but sometimes, because you can't force them to come out, some won't show up. But it has to change. It has to change because we need them to come and tell us what they will do when they get into office, because that's the only way we can have accountability. Trust me, how many people even know what the plans are when the candidate comes out for office? Many people don't know. You don't know their agenda. You don't know what they have planned for you. So only through a debate can people really listen in and know, okay, this guy has this and this and this in place for me. I think I like him, so I'll come out and vote for him. So it's a very critical process, but the citizens must demand. That's the issue here. The citizens must make that demand and press it on the aspirants to come out for a debate and let them know the consequences of not showing up for that debate. Very critical.
So one more thing from here. How much work do you think we have to do to ensure that we entrench that culture of debate right from the grassroots up until the presidential level?
All right, I'll be using from my experience even at AMAC level. It's a lot of work, trust me. It's a lot of work. Reaching out to the candidates is a lot of work. Getting them to even commit to come for the debate is a lot of work. Organizing the debate itself is a lot of work. Reaching out to those that need to listen into the debate is also a lot of work. So I think first things first, we need to partner with media houses like what we're doing here to get the word out. It's very important. There has to be a lot of advocacy around this because if we don't reach to these people, they won't know. But it's a serious work has to be done. Serious work has to be done. But we've started the process with the Pink Debate Series, and we're going out, we're going to the states, we're going to the local government, we're going national, and we're taking the word out there to them in their millions and letting them know that a debate is a must. Come and debate on gender-based issues. Come and debate on gender-based issues. Let us know what you would do for women and the girl child when you get into office. We will be in their faces. We have volunteers all across Nigeria in all the local government areas. We'll be in their faces. We'll be in the faces of those electorates. We are going to the marketplaces, letting them know that when these people come to you to ask for your votes, tell them you want to hear them speak and engage in a debate. It's a critical need at this time.
Yeah, debates are good. What about town halls? Are you looking to do that as well?
Well, we're focusing on debates for now. We have a lot of organizations that even do town halls. But at the local level, what we plan to do, because we are going to state governors and national and presidential, so we're talking to the state coordinators of the Pink Debate to organize town halls at the local level, because we are looking at the local level, it's actually more effective to do town halls at the local level. But at the state level and the national level, we'll go in for debates.
Okay. Well, we wish, may the best man win tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing who eventually emerges. We have to thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Elite this morning, and well done for the work you're doing. Belema Menshakat is Executive Director, Engage, Empower, Educate Initiative. Thank you once more.
Thank you.
Well, we have your feedback in already, and I see this one from Festus Akimboiwa. It's a tweet. He says, criminal sanctions must be imposed on those who play a part in the ongoing bad fuel supply in our country. Their names and their nefarious operations must be exposed. Time, heads roll for once in our country to prevent further importation of bad fuel to the country.
We were told that NNPC is the sole importer of PMS. That's why we don't pay for subsidy to any individual. But NNPC is saying 4 other companies are responsible for that. Is it that they've been paying subsidy to those companies involved previously?
We can add that to the list of very, very vital questions to be asked, really. And I do hope that those responsible are listening. But this next one is an email from Nicholas Keke on bad fuel importation, saying, my question is, which agency is saddled with the responsibility of clearing and ensuring standard is adhered to? Somebody somewhere compromised within the agencies. Heads must roll. If not, all investigations by NAS will be another stroll in the park.
Sumaya is interested in the children, at-risk children program. We really need to take this program seriously, as it is an issue that affects our development. Children need to get education for a better future. The states really need to sign into the at-risk children program with immediate effect, especially here in the northern part of the country. Honestly, I couldn't agree more.
Well, what's more to add to that tweet from Sumaya, or mail from Sumaya Suleiman? Thank you all for sending in your messages this morning. We appreciate your feedback. It's a Friday. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. It's the weekend before Valentine's Day, and we hope that you have sufficient time to prepare for it. Don't ask me why I'm so big on it, but hey. If red be the color of love, let's wear it. Thank you for watching. I'm Mark Yusuf.
Mark, you're looking for trouble this morning. But hey, yeah, it's a weekend. Rest, spend time with family. If you're working, the nation thanks you. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Don't forget, Valentine's Day is Monday. Yeah, Monday morning.
So it can be blue. The color can be blue.
What day?
Or green.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
I'm Chamberlain and said goodbye.